welcome back to my channel, and today we are going to be talking about luxury designer bags under £500. So if that's something that interests you, then please hit the subscribe button down below and don't forget to hit the bell notification so that you can be notified every time I post a video, and let's get into it. So I think this is a really fascinating topic right now, because I know that a lot of brands have been putting their prices up, and I really feel like that's left, and I know a few people have been talking about this, it's really left a gap in the market for people sort of at a slightly lower price point. And so yeah, that was why I thought that it would be really interesting. I was thinking of doing like luxury designer bags under £1,000, and I might do that next time, so tell me in the comments if that would be of interest to you, that video in particular. But I was looking through what I had on my wish list on Farfetch and what I've been looking at recently, and I had quite a few bags there under £500, so I thought that it would be a really interesting topic. Okay, so I think we'll start with Marc Jacobs. So several of the ones I was actually looking at them last night are by Marc Jacobs, and I'm really fascinated by what they're doing right now. So the first bag we have is this, it's basically what I would call a box bag. I think they've called it a box tote. But yeah, I would definitely call it a box bag. And I think this is really beautiful. I think it's quite simple. I'm not usually a simple kind of person, but I think there's something quite simple about it. I like the hardware. But what I'm really fascinated by is the grained leather. And the reason I'm so fascinated by this is because it really reminds me of vintage Chanel. And I spend a lot of time looking at vintage Chanel. I don't have any pieces yet, but I'm very obsessed. And I really love that kind of style. I love something that stands out a bit more. And yeah, it's very reminiscent of vintage Chanel for me, which is why I'm really fascinated. And again, obviously this is under £500. The next bag I have is also by Marc Jacobs. This is giving off massive Prada vibes, for me anyway, right here. The studs, obviously Valentino do a lot of studs, and I really love anything that's studs. You can probably see by my style, I like studs, I like spikes, that is my thing. But yeah, Valentino do a lot of, create a lot of bags and a lot of items, like shoes included, that have studs. But I feel like these studs in particular really look like the studs that I've seen on some of the Prada bags. I remember some of the bags that they had out a while ago. I think they were like shoulder bags, but they were really quite large and quite roomy, and they had like those sort of studs down them. I think a lot of the Prada bags have those straps as well, don't they? The studded straps. So yeah, I really felt like this was giving Prada vibes. I think this is the smaller tote. There was a bigger one. I think it was the large tote, and I believe it went out of stock on here, but it might be in stock on Marc Jacobs, so we'd have to check that. But yeah, I thought this was actually really nice. I think this size of it would actually be really useful. I think I would prefer something larger. I always feel like if I'm going to go for a tote, I would rather it be big, and then if I'm going to go for a smaller sort of bag, I'd rather it just not be a tote. But that's just me. The third bag I have is the last bag I'm going to show you by Marc Jacobs. It's the camera bag. I just threw in a camera bag. I particularly like these colours, but I thought I wouldn't show you all of the different camera bag options. Obviously there was so many. It's one of the things I really love about the camera bag, is that it sort of facilitates whatever your style is and whatever your colour combinations are. Whatever your colours are, you're going to be able to find something for you. So yeah, I think the camera bag's really fascinating. You'd need to check the size in order to make sure that your phone fits, but I do really like the camera bag, and it's definitely a really popular one. Karl Lagerfeld, that was the next brand I wanted to talk to you about. I'm mad about Karl Lagerfeld. I'm actually really mad about the clothing. For me, I think a lot of, obviously I'm not into all of their pieces, but I feel like they have a lot of pieces that are really different, a lot more edgy, a lot more my style than what I think a lot of the brands necessarily cater to. Some of their pieces are really unique, really individual. I'm really fascinated by them, but their bags are really nice, and they have a really massive range, really huge range. These are the two bags that stood out for me in particular that I really liked. So this is the first one really that stood out for me. Was almost kind of that like black and white, almost black and beige, but I thought the pattern was really quite unique. I love the gold lettering and the way that stands out. And then there's this next bag, which I think is a bit bigger, which is on black. And yeah, obviously this is a bag that's more like, if you're looking for a bag that's actually going to go with everything, then you're probably better off going with something that's black or neutral. Although if you do go for neutral, you might be a bit worried about colour transfer if you're going for cream or beige or white, which is probably why black is a really, really good option. Yeah, I think this is a really awesome bag, and I actually don't know which one I would choose between the two, or which one I think is better. I think the first one is more sort of creative, more different, and the second one I think is just, it's still really loud because of the gold lettering. This makes it really loud. So I really, really like this bag. So I thought I would show you those two by Karl Lagerfeld. And the last one is by Love Moschino. I don't know whether you're into this brand, but I do think that Love Moschino and Versace Jeans Couture do come out with some really interesting bags. This one I liked in particular. It's black with like the pink trim, this sort of almost fuchsia pink trim. You can probably see that I quite like the idea of that, of sort of having black and like a much smaller amount of pink. So obviously this is completely up my street. So yeah, this bag is by Love Moschino, and I think it's a brand. I think it's a brand that's worth checking out. But definitely Karl Lagerfeld, Marc Jacobs. Again, Marc Jacobs especially seems to be doing some really different, really interesting things right now. So I would suggest that you check them out. I know that this was a really short video. I really wanted to throw those together. Tell me what you think in the comments. Are there any brands in particular that have stood out to you in that kind of price range, for example, that you really like? Have you been looking at any brands that now that maybe you weren't looking at before? I think that would be really interesting to talk about. If you like this video, then please hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't subscribed and you'd like to see the next video. Also give me any ideas on what else you might on what other topics that might be related that you might like to see videos on. And I'll leave my Instagram there as well. It'd be really awesome if you follow me on there. And I will see you in the next video.